Hello, my name is Professor Yee Leung. I'm a clinical academic in the Division of Obstetrics and Gynecology at the University of Western Australia. In this video, I'll be providing feedback on the performance of Callum in the Gynecology Objective Structured Clinical Examination Station. This is a simulated patient station and has two defined triggers. The first trigger assesses the student's ability to interpret a Pap smear report and explain the significance of this to a patient. The second trigger assesses how the student applies this knowledge through the explanation of a comprehensive management plan. Marks are awarded by the examiner according to a preset marking matrix. The matrix includes a global score being the examiner's impression of the student's performance. The actor contributes an empathy score with the highest score awarded if the actor would actively seek care from that student on the basis of that encounter. You'll note that at the 30-second timestamp, Callum introduces himself to the patient, and during that initial consultation, smiles, maintains eye contact, and checks the reason for the consultation. These behaviors are highly valued by a patient. Now, at the 1 minute and 8 second timestamp, Callum explains the significance of the test result to the patient. The explanation is provided at a steady pace, providing the reason for the abnormal result, the likely cause, and the expected natural history of this condition. Callum checks that the patient understands what he has explained. Consider, though, the use of non-technical language. A layperson would not necessarily understand LSIL or squamous intraepithelial lesion. At 2 minutes and 21 seconds timestamp, Callum explains what a coposcopy involves. One gets the impression Callum has been at the clinic, sat in a consultation, and seen a coposcopy. This highlights the importance of attendance and the clinical attachment. The patient is satisfied with the explanation of the coposcopy. One could consider, at this point in time, explaining in lay terms that a Pap smear is a screening test and a coposcopy is a diagnostic test in this instance. At the 3 minute and 5 second timestamp, the patient goes back to the topic of the LSIL and asks if it can lead to cancer. Callum was able to answer in general terms that low-grade changes tend to resolve, but some low-grade changes can progress to high-grade changes and ultimately cancer. An excellent candidate would be able to provide some data on the resolution and progression rates and the time interval for progression to cancer. This would provide more detail and reassurance to the patient. At the 3 minute and 38 second timestamp, the patient has to seek more clarification. The topic of vaccination is introduced at this point. Callum provides one reason for the abnormal Pap smear result. Besides exposure to prior vaccination, consider explaining the cause of the subtype was not a component of the vaccine. Therefore, no or limited protection would have been given by the vaccine. Incidentally, a coughing spell by the observer was well handled by both the patient and the candidate. At and 35 second timestamp, Callum asks if there are any other questions. The patient raises the question of impact on fertility. Now, whilst Callum was not able to answer this specifically, he was able to answer more generally. Potential answers could include an explanation that this is a diagnostic coposcopy and is not associated with an adverse impact on fertility. A therapeutic coposcopy where excision treatment of the cervix is performed may impact subsequent fertility in a variety of ways, but this can be addressed by the treating gynecologist. At the 5 minute and 45 second timestamp, the station finished 2 minutes before the set time. This is an opportunity for the candidate to read the question, particularly the triggers. At 6 minutes and 30 seconds, Callum explains in more detail the difference between a diagnostic and a therapeutic coposcopy. At the 8 minute and 10 second timestamp, the observer debriefs the patient. I'll now make some closing remarks. Firstly, professional attributes. Consider appropriate dress for an examination. And say goodbye or thank the patient at the end of the station. Some comments now regarding the actual scenario. Explaining the test result and its likely subsequent management plan is a common OSCE scenario. Think about what you would want to know if you went for the results of an investigation you have just had. So it is likely that a layperson will want to know if this is a serious condition or not. In this case, is it cancer? What caused it? What usually happens with this problem? What other tests are required? What treatment is required? And what are the consequences of that treatment? By recognizing these scenarios are a common part of the OSCE setup, the student can prepare answers for the question during the reading time. This will prepare the student for the scenario. Thank you.